Hey, welcome to Hired How to Get the Jobs weekly update. Today we're going to be talking about two things over the next 30 minutes. One, your questions, my answers. But first, we'll be talking a little bit about how to win at cold calling your resume, how to get your resume past HR and into the hiring managers, which is really who you wrote the resume for to begin with. But if you can't get past the gatekeepers of recruiting, it doesn't do you any good to have a great resume. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, let me tell you who I am. My name is Tony Martin. I write a blog called howtogetthejob.blog. And you can certainly check out a lot of my content over there. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel. There's a little ticker on the bottom here. Feel free to subscribe to that. If you like this video, if you like other videos, check them out. All my content is there. I do a live show on Wednesday on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I do a live show on Thursdays on Facebook and YouTube. But everything is streamed over there and everything is housed over there. So if you like this stuff, please go check it out over at those locations. And if you like the Q&A, because often people just like the Q&A section more than anything else, you can always scan ahead, and once you see the little thing on the bottom, it looks like that, you know that we're in the Q&A. So there's always good opportunities there to get a lot of good information, because if you're not getting your skills better right now, somebody else is. So let me first tell you a little about who I am. I write a blog. I've been a staffing and recruiting professional for 15 years. I've been executive recruiter for a couple of years, and I've worked with C-suite executives. I've helped train boards of directors on how to evaluate talent and how to actually hire their CEOs for their organizations. But my passion has always been around the coaching of the CEOs and helping those individuals evaluate which opportunity was the best for them, which then led me into resume writing and things like that, mock interviews, resume writing, and professional coaching. So if you are somebody who needs some help with your resume, we are almost through September, and we are almost done with our 30 for 30 challenge. I have 29 resume consults. I need one more to do my 30 free 30-minute resume consults for the month of September. So maybe you could be the lucky 30th person. So now let's get into the topic of the day. And the topic of the day is how to win a cold calling your resume. Now this topic really should hopefully increase the amount of response you get from your resume. Because truthfully, if you're like most people will apply to a lot of jobs and they won't hear anything. Truthfully, this isn't a scientific stat. This number is based on my clients and working with them. But the numbers I have from my clients and from my 15 years of hiring thousands of people is probably about, you'll get a response rate on about 1 to 3% of your applications. So if you submit 100 applications with 100 resumes, your average, if you get 1 to 3 callbacks. Now, by following these steps, you should be able to probably triple the response rate on your resume. And it has nothing to do with your resume. It has everything to do with everything around your resume. So first, let me tell you why this is such a competitive process. Not just because there's hundreds of people trying to get the job you're getting, but this spot, trying to get the phone screen, is the most competitive part of the hiring process. Because think about it, this is the only time it's you versus 200, 300 people, 400 people. When I was hiring high volume positions, I would often get 400 or 500 resumes per one job, which means I'm going to sift through hundreds of resumes in order to pick one person to hire, or in order to pick 10 people to interview. So let's just say it's a typical requisition. We get 400 applicants. Out of those 400 applicants, I am going to probably pick 10 to do a phone screen. Now, this is going to explain why you apply today. You get the immediate notification as to, hey, thanks for applying, but then you don't hear anything for a month until they disqualify you, okay? We're gonna talk through how to get around that. And the first thing is make sure that you, on your resume, are speaking the love language of me, the recruiter. I am not a technical expert. I don't understand a lot of your technical words. I might, but the average recruiter isn't. So remove some of the technical machinery specification stuff. If you work on a specific type of piece of equipment, describe the piece of equipment. Call it a hydraulical piece of gear, a mechanical, an electronic, electrical. Don't call it by its name, because that is also going to limit you on the opportunities that people like me are going to think you're qualified for. If you said I worked on hydroracker, only a small percentage of the population knows what a hydroracker is for oil and gas folks. But if you say I worked on an electronically and hydraulically powered piece of equipment valued at $50 million, a lot of people can relate to that. So see how you're phrasing your words. So speak in the language the recruiter can understand. So if you want to get past me or get to me, a recruiter, and get a phone call, the first thing you need to do is apply to a job within 3 days of it going live. Why? Because like I said, there's 500 applicants. My typical routine, and most recruiters' typical routine, is we're going to post a job. We'll say we'll post a job on a Monday. We're not going to go into it on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. We might, just to see how it's going, but we're probably not going to really do any solid work with that requisition until probably 3 days later, because now we have a pool of applicants that we can sift through. And let's just say in 3 days, we have 500 applicants. So on Thursday, we're going to go back into that requisition and we're going to start looking for people to talk to. We're going to arrange those people by who answered the knockout questions correctly. So all of this discussion and concern about applicant tracking systems that are artificially intelligent systems, do they actually screen me out? And how do I have my resume written correctly so the person can actually understand that I'm the right person, or the person or the applicant tracking system can queue my resume? Don't worry about that, okay? If you're following the job description and you have a lot of the key topics in the job description covered, you're going to be fine. 90% of the time, an applicant tracking system is powered more by the questions you answer that the recruiter puts in than some artificially intelligent system, okay? So make sure that you fill out and answer those questions appropriately. You need to be aware that the question is answered in the job description. If the job description says you need to have 10 or more years of experience, and then the first question in your application says, how many years of experience do you have? Less than 5, 6 to 8, 8 to 9, 10 or plus. The right answer is 10 plus. Now, I'm not saying if you have 7 years of experience, you put 10 plus. I am saying if you have 9.5 years of experience, I would probably round up to saying 10 years, because that is the right answer. So when I open up my requisition, I'm going to see 500 applicants. It's going to be sorted by the people who got the highest marks on my questions. And then I'm going to go down. And I'm going to go down until the average recruiter will go down until they have enough people to phone screen in order to fill out their funnel. And we will know, if we're good at what we do, that on average it takes maybe 10 phone screens to get one hire. 10 phone screens becomes 5 face-to-face interviews, which becomes 2 finalists and 1 offer. So I'm not going to go through all 500 applicants. I'm going to go through the first 100 or the first 150. And then once out of those 150, I've found 10 people that I like, I'm going to keep the other 350 people in that status. And now I've moved forward with my 15 or 10 people, which means if you applied on the 4th or 5th day, you're probably never going to get a phone call. And the only communications you're going to get is, we got your application, thank you. And we're going to move forward with somebody else, thank you so much. 3 months, 2 months, 1 month later, because they never actually saw your application. So get your application in, apply to that job specifically for that role on the first day. And also, don't apply to multiple jobs in the same company. This is a staple that I say all the time, because I am the first person the recruiter's going to see. And if I see that you've applied to 3 or 4 things, then I'm going to be very quick, or I'm going to be aware, and I'm going to assume that you're not focused in anything. If you're not focused in anything, then I'm going to be worried that you're not going to be passionate about where I'm hiring you. And every hiring manager I've ever spoken with says, find me someone who's passionate in this. They don't say, find me someone who just kind of wants to do it and can do a bunch of things. So don't apply to a bunch of things. Apply to one thing within the company. So that way, when I look at your application, I don't see he's also or she's also applied to 7 other jobs that have nothing to do with this one. Apply to the multiple jobs in the company is fine, as long as they're in the same silo, the same discipline, okay? So now let's talk a little bit about what I do. Once you've applied to a role within the first 3 days, if I get it as a recruiter, I'm gonna go look to your LinkedIn profile. So put your LinkedIn profile on your resume, okay? Let me find the right profile. Just a couple of days ago, I was talking to a client, and I was looking at his LinkedIn profile, and he looked like a nudge. He looked like a convict. He didn't look bad, but he didn't look happy, okay? I was a Marine. I think you can figure that out, right? This is a picture that you would not, it's kind of blurry, but these are pictures of people you would not have on your LinkedIn profile. Why? Because we're not smiling. Okay, we used to have an expression in the Marine Corps when we took pictures. We used to always ask, is this a smiling photo or a non-smiling photo? You don't have a non-smiling photo at on your LinkedIn profile because I won't want to call you. You have a photo like that. I want to call that guy because he's smiling and he looks happy and he looks like he enjoys his life, okay? Don't be like my son and just be miserable all the time and expect me to want to talk to you. You might be really good at what you're doing and you might have a great reputation and I might still call you. But smile on your LinkedIn profile. And also, LinkedIn profile. This is mostly for ladies. This is not a glamour shot, photo shoot where it's an inappropriate outfit. Okay, let's keep it professional because truthfully, that's kind of the LinkedIn, that's what it's there for. It's professional networking. It's a professional group. So I don't really see too many men with photos that are questionable, we'll say. So yeah. Next, on your LinkedIn profile, have your header make sense, okay? Don't have a, just like your resume, you don't want a resume or you don't want to apply to 15 jobs. You don't want your resume to say that I'm a strong business development, marketing, engineer, leader, project manager, and IT professional excited to have a new job. That shows no focus. On your header in your LinkedIn profile, pick 1 or 2 focuses at the most. Don't pick 100 focuses on your LinkedIn profile because when I get your resume and then I go over to your LinkedIn profile, I want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is passionate about what you have applied to. And if again, your LinkedIn profile has 5 keywords in the header, I'm going to make the assumption that you're not passionate about this job and you just need a job. Okay? So we've discussed apply early. Clean up your LinkedIn profile. Next, use your network. When you apply somewhere, you should look at who works at that company inside your network. And then you should send them an email. And the email or the instant message on LinkedIn, the DM, whatever, it should be something to the effect of, hey, Mike, good to see you. I'm really impressed with how long you've been at XYZ company. Or, I really like the article that you posted last week about this. Would you mind taking a look at my background? I'd love to get your opinion on if you think I'm a fit for your organization. And then attach your resume. Don't ask them for an interview. Don't ask them anything. But this is people inside your network. Hopefully you already know these people. Now, likewise, people inside your network who are at companies that you're targeting today, start it today, and don't do it all at once. Start liking some of their LinkedIn activity. I don't mean today go on their LinkedIn profile and like everything that they ever wrote from today till 10 years ago. I am saying today, pick out 1 or 2 things that you like. Make a like, write a comment. Next week, like a couple more things, make a comment. Start building that credibility with them of a supporter of what they're doing. And then they're going to potentially reciprocate that when it's time for you to apply to a role in their company. You can then send them a message and go, hey, I've really been liking all the stuff you've been posting on LinkedIn. Recently, I applied to this role, blah, blah, blah. It comes off more sincere rather than today liking 5 of their posts and then following them up with an email saying, hey, I just applied to, I like your stuff. So be proactive in this. But if right now you applied to a role that you're excited about, you've never liked their stuff before, pick a couple of them, read them, comment on them, and then when you write them tomorrow an instant message, reference that, reference their tenure, and use your network. I even say share this. I mean, any kind of stuff that on your LinkedIn or on your Facebook that's professional in nature, share that stuff because it shows that you're trying to get skill sets that you don't necessarily have yet, okay? Next, so we got, right, apply early to a job. Within 3 days, you're probably not gonna get it. Leverage the network you already have. And then next, create a network if you don't have it. So in this scenario, you're applying to a job, you look at their website, you're excited about them, you look at your connections to them, you don't know anybody that works there. What you're going to do is you're going to go to all of the HR people and you're going to try to connect with a bunch of HR people in that company. And you're going to go to the people inside the value chain or the discipline that you're applying for. If you're applying to be a communications person, then talk to all the PR, marketing, communications people, try to connect with them, try to figure out who the boss is in this organization, try to connect with them. By trying to connect with all those people, the very next day, hopefully you'll have a couple of connections there. Now, most likely it'll be a bunch of HR folks because, well, we just love HR and we just love human relations and human resources and connecting with people. And you probably don't need those HR people, but by connecting with HR people, you can then go over and hover over the more part on their LinkedIn profile, which is going to give you the nomenclature for their email address. So then you can figure out the correct email address structure for the people you actually do want to talk to. But you still can reach out to those HR folks as well and go, hey, thanks so much for connecting. This is what the email. Now, if you don't write this down, I have an article over on howtogetthejob.blog. And my article clearly shows some email templates about how you should reach out to people who are not in your network. Okay, so just because I connect with you today, I don't really think you're in my network tomorrow. I don't know who you are. I just connected with you. You're a cold call. So when you reach out to people who are not in your network or you don't know well, you need to structure the message in a way that doesn't make them obligated to do anything for you. Okay, and you need to flatter them. You need to make them feel like that you respect them. So you need the message to be humble, filled with respect, and you're not asking for anything too much. You are going to ask for, hey, you're going to say, hey, Mike, or dear Mike, or Mike, thanks so much for connecting yesterday. Thanks so much for connecting. I've been really impressed with your background. And you're obviously an expert in what you do. I would really be grateful if you could take a look at mine and see if you think I'm a fit for your organization as a blah, 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 which I applied to yesterday. Now, you're not asking him for an interview. You're not even asking him to look at your resume, though you are attaching your resume in a PDF version. Remember, we always apply to jobs with a Word document. If you don't know why, I got videos on that, or ask me. But we always apply with a Word document and we always reach out and network with a PDF. We do that to ensure that they have the information. Now, what's going to happen by you writing that kind of message? First of all, you're showing Mike some respect. And believe it or not, respect is something a lot of us just crave. I love the movie The Greatest Showman. That movie is all about a guy searching for people to respect him and give him value and just make him feel like he belongs. Love that movie. I can relate to that. Many professionals can too. You don't know the backstory about how much showing a little respect to somebody really will get you. And perhaps that person gets no respect in the office, gets no respect at home, but all of a sudden you say, in your expert opinion, or I'm really impressed with you, and in your expert opinion, I have a question. Do you think I'm a fit? I want your opinion and I'm giving you respect. Often that's going to trigger some things in my psyche, which is going to make me at least open your resume, which is half the battle. And then the other battle is what happens next, which is I had a VP of procurement. Often, every requisition I have at least 1 or 2 times, he'd walk to my desk and go, hey, this person reached out to me on LinkedIn. I have no idea if they're a fit. I haven't even looked at their resume, but just make sure you give it a pair of eyes. They might have been number 272 in the requisition. I might have never gotten to them. But truthfully, I made sure I looked at them now. And because the VP walked over with it, we made sure we gave that guy a call. So this will help you get callbacks on your resume and give you a chance to impress them. Now, let's say you've done all that. Don't be afraid to follow up a week later. Okay, you've reached out, you've applied, a week later, no one's talked to you, even though you've sent some messages, even though they've connected with you. Send them another message. Hey, just checking in, blah, 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 blah. It's your career, right? If you don't do it, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Now, I'm not saying be annoying, but certainly make sure you do some effort and reach out to those individuals on the other side so that they can flag you as a name. Once you get them on the phone, though, or once they talk to you or correspond via email, listen to their instructions. So often I would talk to, when I was recruiting high volume positions, we would have 2 or 3 hires in this role every single month. But because I had 2 or 3 hires every month, I had a pipeline of a dozen people. Now there might be a certain month where I would hire 4 or 5 people. But on average, I would have a pipeline of 12 or 13 people who I thought were really good. And I was ready to move forward in the process at any time. And I would give those people instructions. And it would be, check in with me once a month because I'm not going to have anything for you this month or next month, but I probably will the following month. But I want to make sure you're fresh on my mind. Now, many of those people would start calling me every week. And then I would tell them after week one, look, Joe, I said check on me once a month. I really can't get into a weekly conversation with you. Oh, okay, sorry, no problem. I totally get you're excited, but check on me once a month. Joe would then go every other week. I'd finally tell Joe, I wouldn't tell him you're starting to frustrate me, but he was. I'd say, Joe, you need to listen to my instructions because if I'm telling you to check in with me every month, I'm not going to forget about you, and it's going to show you can follow directions. If you can't follow my simple directions about how to apply to a job, I'm not sure I can trust you to follow the directions when you're actually working in the job. We put all that stuff together. Remember, everything is a screening tool. Even if you're not in the running, you're still being screened potentially. All right. Lastly, once you've done all this and you've applied, answer your phone. Have your voicemail set up. I have had so many situations where I am planning on calling 6 or 7 people today. I want to do phone screens with these individuals, and I blocked off from 9 to 11 in the morning to do this and accomplish all this. And I would call you first at 9 a.m. and you wouldn't answer. You send it to voicemail. But Tony, I'm going to call you right back because I'm going to look at the voicemail. I'm going to hear you. Great. I leave you a message. I hang up. I then go to the next person on my list. I talk to them. While I'm talking to them, you're calling me back, leaving me a voicemail. So 20 minutes later, I get through that phone screen. I then go back to you. I call you again. You send me to voicemail again. At some point, I give up on you. Answer your phone if you don't recognize the number if you're searching for a job, okay? Because people like me are opportunists. Now, I do always say too, remember that once you get the phone from me, you hang up on me. You tell me, hey, Tony, you make up an excuse why you can't talk to me. So that way you make sure you're prepared for the actual conversation that's about to happen. But by telling me you're going to call me back in a minute, I'm not quickly dialing the next number. I am sitting around waiting for you to call me back or you say, hey, can you call me back in 1 minute because I'm making up an excuse. And if you don't know why you're doing that, watch some of my other videos where it says how to prepare for the most difficult interview or the most important interview, which is the phone screen interview. All right. So thank you for that. I hope that was helpful. Now, yesterday we do this show on LinkedIn, and I feel like I'm probably going to start just moving to the LinkedIn YouTube formats. But we'll keep this going on Facebook for a little bit of time here. But I had so many questions. We started the questions at 15 past, and we went for 30 minutes straight with questions. So if you do have any questions, now is the time to start typing those questions in to make sure that I answer them for you. But if you don't have any questions, there's no worries because I have a whole bunch of questions from clients this week, and I'll hit some of the top ones from LinkedIn yesterday that were of interest and I think often come up, which means if you're watching this video afterwards, not live, you might have these kind of questions too. So Aaron in Arizona earlier last week asked me, I've heard that you talk about professional summaries being the top section of a resume, which is true. When you're making a resume, I generally feel after your header, the first section should be an executive summary, a professional summary of some sort. So professional summary should be the top section of your resume. What if I have nothing to summarize because I just graduated from college? Now, this is a really common question that I get from my college clients, right? You haven't done anything. You graduated college, well done, but professionally, you haven't done anything. For those people too, just so you know, your education should probably be right underneath your professional summary on your resume because it's probably the most impressive thing you've done. Anyone who's graduated college more than 5 years ago, put it on the bottom of your resume, wherever the bottom might be. Obviously it's on the bottom, but it might be on the bottom of page 2, might be on the bottom of page 1, wherever the bottom might be on the bottom of page 3. You don't need to have a resume that's 2 pages long. Shocker. But so with that question though, for new graduates, I often say you should have an objective sentence, objective. So it's still the same kind of structure, you know, what you've done or what you're looking to do, what you're passionate about. It gives you more justification as putting an objective there, you know, because your objective is to get a job, obviously, but you can then really customize and say objective to receive a procurement specialist job at XYZ company, period. Passionate about this, this, and this, recently graduated XYZ university. By doing all of that, you've really done what you need to do to get yourself through the door. If you see any requirements that are in that job description that you might not have, or you specifically have that you think are unique, highlight that in the professional summary as well, or the objective statement as well. But new college grads, objective is the way to go. All right, Eric in South Carolina, staying on the education theme. Eric, he and I spoke about this late last week. I got my MBA in 1990, and I don't think I should put MBA after my name on my resume because I don't think it's relevant. I think there's more relevant MBAs of today. Do you agree? No. I could not disagree more with Eric, and we talked about this. And now on his resume, it says his first name, last name, comma, MBA. I have never met a hiring manager who has said to me, you know what? I want someone who's got an MBA, but I don't want an MBA from 1990. I don't want an MBA from before 2020. I want an MBA, or during 2018. I want an MBA from this day. No, an MBA is an MBA. Yes, the technology changes. Yes, the things you learn change, but the strategic stuff, the function, the discipline to be able to get your MBA, that is constant. And I would almost argue it was probably more difficult to get your MBA in 1990 when internet learning really wasn't the thing yet, and we were just using YouTube or what was it, like Yahoo chats and things like that. I mean, email wasn't very common yet. So I would say that your MBA, in my opinion, shows in research papers and theses and things like that, you had to actually do research and go to the library. Now you use Google search. I mean, I feel like, discipline took a lot more discipline to get your MBA back then. So I don't care when you got your MBA, it's relevant. If a job requires you to have an MBA, put it on there. And if you have an MBA, just put it. Someone doesn't have an MBA is jealous of you. Put the MBA on there, and I'm proud of your accomplishment. And it is an accomplishment regardless of when you got it, okay? Next question was regarding EI traits. With EI traits, can you ever have too much of a good one and that be a reason not to get hired? I really want to explore this more, probably with its own segment. So I think it'll be coming soon. But yes, and if you don't know, when you do interviewing, you do technical interviewing, of course, right? You're going to get technical questions about experiences you've had and things you've done and projects you've worked and the biggest hangups in those projects. But more often too, now we're making sure that equally we're asking questions about your emotional intelligence, your behaviors, the way you process information, the way you influence those around you, and the way you're aware of it. Emotional intelligence traits are things like self-awareness, self-control, social skills, motivation, empathy, problem solving, influencing others, optimism, I think motivation, courage, and integrity. I probably doubled up one, but there's a bunch of them. And we're going to ask you questions about that. Now, the question that this is asking is, can you ever have something and that be bad? In other words, perhaps, and yes, the answer is absolutely. Perhaps you score very high in motivation, okay? As I look at your resume, I see that every job you've been with a company for 10 years, and it seems you get promoted every year to 18 months in your previous role. So you started there 10 years ago and you've had 5 roles and you've been promoted along the way. I know that that's awesome and that makes you great potentially. However, I also know that my organization doesn't promote people every 2 years. Or I know that this role is going to require you to be in it for 3 years before you get promoted. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your motivation. I'm going to ask you about jobs you outgrew and how you knew you outgrew them, or tell me about how you got these promotions. What did you do? And if you give me indications that, that's going to be expected, then I'm going to give you an indication that it's not going to happen here. Or I'm not going to give you an indication because perhaps I'm the type of recruiter that likes to avoid conflict. I don't. I like being honest. But some recruiters prefer to avoid the conflict. I'm then going to just say, hey, thanks so much. I appreciate it. But the truth is, I'm not going to tell you why, but we're not going to move forward with you. Is because you will get bored in this job, or you will get discouraged in this job in 1 year, maybe even 6 months once you figure out there's no way for me to get promoted the next year. So be really aware of that. Other ones, problem solving, stress tolerance, both for the same reason. Maybe you thrive in a stressful environment, or you thrive when there's a lot of problems to solve. But maybe you're hired or getting interviewed into a role that there are no problems to solve. You're a data entry person. We don't care about your opinion. We care about your, I care about your opinion. I always care. I'm the salesman, right? I'm the recruiter. But truthfully, this job isn't about your opinion. It's about doing your job accurately, on time, and getting it done. Everything else doesn't matter as much. So I'm not going to hire somebody who is high in problem solving, high in stress tolerance into a role like that because they will get bored and they just need a job, or they're just saying they need the job right now, or they're going to take the job. But truthfully, at the end of the day, they're probably not going to work out. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. As always, if you like this stuff, please make sure you share it with your connections, okay? Make sure you follow me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, take a look at my LinkedIn profile, but more so, in Instagram, take a look at the Instagram feed, hired_how to get the job. On Instagram, I give daily tips as I'm doing resume writing, as I'm doing things for my clients. I will often clean up their private information, but bring you right onto the Instagram feed. Say, hey, here's what I'm doing right now with this resume, and here's what I don't like about it. Again, everything I say is my opinion, but by me doing that, you're getting some real-time feedback on what you might be making mistakes on. And because it's Instagram, it happens in an instant, and it's not time-consuming, but it keeps your skills fresh. So I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Please remember to share this with anyone you think might get value out of it, and help me show them and you how to get the job. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.